for optom in grade 12, since I didn't know that much about the profession back then in long time ago. So however, when I started the profession on the first year, we didn't do much of optom work, but on the second year, then we got into too much on the optom stuff, of which I got to understood what was optom about, and what was expected of us by doing optom. And that's when I can say that I really fell in love with the profession as a whole. And also, during my vac weeks or vacation, semester break. So during that time, I did some volunteer work at the hospital. So when I did that work, when I got exposed to patients and what they do in practice, and that's where the love grew for optom. You can expect a lot of exciting modules, exciting clinical training, because they are adding more of clinical training, and then they are trying to balance the clinical work, clinical training, as well as your theoretical work. So that when you go out, then you can be exposed in both clinical and practical work. Because for optom, we do not have this thing of ComServe or in-service training. No, we don't have that at the moment. Currently, it's just used in the 4-year degree, and when you graduate with an honors degree. So with no ComServe, so you can after graduating be an independent practitioner, where you can work at the hospital, public hospital. You can work at the private optom. You can open your own practice, because it is basically an independent profession when you graduate. And also, like I said, it is a growing profession rather than a profession that is not really changing. So might expect new things, like I said, in a couple of years or so, and they might increase it to like 5 years or 6 years, depending on the need for it as the years goes by. Obviously, you have to try and get the correct prescription for the patient, and gives the correct glasses for the patient, of which that is one of the standard way of looking at the profession. But like I said before, the profession is a growing profession. Secondly, you have to look at eye conditions, different eye conditions, diagnose eye conditions that the patient might present with. Obviously, in terms of how then do you manage the condition, manage those that you cannot manage. Obviously, because of your scope of practice, then you have to refer them to an ophthalmologist. But basically, it is you do classes in terms of your refraction. You diagnose some conditions, and then you manage those that you can. You refer those that you cannot manage. And also you deal with low vision patients, those who have a very poor vision that really can't be corrected with glasses. So you try and find other means so that they can be able to move around and also perform their daily activities. You look at those patients with a binocular vision problem. So when I'm talking about binocular vision problem, I'm talking about patient probably who have a strabismus. I'm talking about the patient, for example, who is having some eye symptoms like straining of the eyes, headaches. But when you look at their prescription, it's very mild prescription. So you might think of a binocular vision problem, like maybe they can't accommodate, their eyes are not flexible enough to look at near objects and things like that. And then you have to prescribe some therapy for those patients. So it is quite a lot. Unfortunately, in public, we don't do much of contact lenses, but in private they do contact lenses where if maybe a patient wants to have contact lenses, then they can have contact lenses instead of glasses, or if they want, then they can have cosmetic contact lenses, those colorful contact lenses like gray, brown, green. Those are cosmetic contact lenses or prescription contact lenses, depending on the condition of the patient. Also, you deal with kids. So that's one of the fun parts of dealing with kids, because they are quite entertaining, and you need to be patient with them, and you need to basically have love for them. So it is there's different fields that somebody can focus on if they want to do optom. But if I can sum it up, it's glasses, refraction, contact lenses, low vision, those who really can't see well and they need some assistive devices like binocular vision, like a cane, binocular devices, telescopes, handheld magnifiers and things like that. And also those who have conditions that need to be treated, like glaucoma conditions, like uveitis, which is the inflammation of the the layers inside your eyes and things like that. So it is a very broad profession. That's a different field that one can focus on, rather than having just one thing that they do each and everything. But obviously, the bulk of it will be the patients who have refractive problems, who need glasses, and also some of them with conditions that need to be treated. In terms of my research, because I'm looking at the changes of the eye, and how does a person see when their sugar level changes. I'm talking about the diabetic patient here. As diabetic patients, they tend to grow this thing called cataracts. I don't know if you've heard or know about cataracts. So cataract is basically the opacification of the lens inside your eyes, which is quite common in diabetic patient. So in diabetic patient, they tend to remove that lens and then replace it with a pseudophakic lens or an IOL, intraocular lens. So now my interest was, do diabetic patient, because of changes in their sugar level, like when their sugar level goes high, do they see differently? What changes would you expect in the eye? Because there have been a lot of studies that have been done to look at the changes that a person will experience, those that have not done cataract operation, those that still have crystalline lens. So there is a lot of research that has been done on that field. So I wanted to explore something different, to see if there is any changes that you will expect if a patient without a lens, their sugar level changes, will their vision change as well? Of which, unfortunately, or fortunately, because sometimes the absence of results is also the result. So when the sugar level changes, even if it doesn't change that much, you won't see any big difference in pseudophakic lenses as compared to phakic or patient who has not gone cataract surgery. So it was an interesting journey that I went through, in terms of trying to find if you would expect some different changes if your sugar level changes. I mean, when you do masters or PhD or study further, you grow as a person. You grow as a person in the profession. And also for me, it's contribution you make to the profession. You make the contribution back with the knowledge that you give out there, in terms of publishing the papers, knowledge that you get from studying further, and the skills that you get when you do your postgrad, which some of them can make you a better person as a person. Sometimes it can make you a better clinician. The skills that you get when you're doing your postgrad decrease, because when you're doing your research, you learn about new things, you get exposed to different minds when you read different papers and all that. So it is one of the most interesting field to do a postgrad. Challenging, of course, but it is quite interesting. But the most important thing is that you grow as a person, and there is a huge difference that you notice between you when you graduate with your masters, or when you graduate with your PhD, as compared when you've done your only your undergrad. So it is a quite interesting field, and I would honestly encourage anybody who's interested in adding knowledge to the field that they are doing, to pursue the postgrad, pursue the postgrad profession. It is quite an interesting thing to do. Well, I think, because now, since we are in this COVID era, obviously, we spend most of our time using the computer, using the cell phones, and spend most of our time with reading, so which causes some eye strain, back pain, and all those things. When for example, when you're looking at a computer, you're not blinking too much. So when you're not blinking too much, your eyes will start to feel dry. They can feel dry, like sometimes they will be tearing a lot, or sometimes they will feel like they sand and things like that, or sometimes they will be painful because of not blinking too much and because of training from looking at the computer for a long time. So that's one of the things is, in terms of when you're looking at the computer, when you're using these devices that you use today during this COVID time, every 20 minutes, for example, there is this 20-20-20 rule. So every 20 minutes, just look at 20 feet for 20 seconds, so that you can relax your eyes. That will help with your eye training and things like that. Also, our computers and our phones and things like this, they have this thing called blue wavelength that they emit. So I would really discourage people from using their phone, especially when the lights are off, or when there is a dark background, as that might affect your eye in terms of your eyes being strained. Eyes straining and things like that. But however, for a full examination and a full work up on what will be best for you during this time, you will need to visit your optom, so that they can advise you more specifically on the things that you do and the things that you should not do. But like I said, 20-20-20, for every 20 minutes, look away at 20 feet or 6 meters for 20 seconds, so that you can relax your eyes if you are using a computer. And also, because now when you are using your computer, you're more like your back sometimes will be hit, so you need to also relax in that 20 second, so that you don't experience things like back pain and things like that when using the computer, because there are a lot of people who are experiencing that, especially when they are using the computers and the phones and things like this. Obviously, as you grow, your eyes change. So your prescription changes. Sometimes the prescription doesn't change too much. Your lenses, they become old, they get stretchy. So you're not gonna see as well as you did with old glasses as compared to new glasses, because of things like scratches. And also, obviously, like eye conditions that can develop because of age, because of maybe different things. So your optometrist need to examine those things, because there are conditions that develop slowly, that a person doesn't really notice them until it's too late. For example, that comes to my mind is a condition called the glaucoma. Glaucoma is basically, I usually tell my patient that a glaucoma is like a hypertension, because as they say, hypertension is a silent killer. Same thing with the glaucoma. It is a silent killer, because patients will notice when their vision is gone that they have a problem. And then when they come to us, it's a little bit too late that you can't do anything, because when the optic nerve is damaged, there's nothing that you can do to bring that back. So now when you check your eyes every 2 years or every now and then with your healthcare practitioner, then they will notice those changes, and then they will manage those changes as soon as possible so that you don't experience this irreversible blindness that could have been prevented. So there's one of those things. That's why it is important to check your eyes every 2 years or every certain period of time. And also the second one, like I said, the first one is to prevent irreversible blindness. And then the second one is obviously if maybe it is your glasses, then they can change your glasses so that you can get a good vision without your eyes straining and things like this, because this can also affect the quality of life. Yeah, and also in general, you need to keep healthy, like exercise. It's healthy. Obviously, your whole body needs that, not just your eyes. So your whole body needs that to keep exercising and it's healthy, because some of the systematic condition, like I said, like diabetes, hypertension, and things like that, can have a significant impact on your eyes. So if now you have those conditions, that can also affect your eyes negatively if they are not controlled or they're not managed. So you need to exercise, keep healthy, and make sure that you take care of your whole body as a whole, not just your eyes. So I would advise them, if possible, to shadow somebody in either private or public. Go to a public hospital, ask their optom if they are willing to show around what do they do on a daily basis. See if it is something that you love. Before you even think about applying for it. So that when you do it, when you go to the prof, and you have a little bit of a basic idea, what is it that you're dealing with, what is it that you are putting yourself into. At least you have been exposed into the profession. So shadow somebody that in that profession, be it optom or any other profession. That's the first advice. The second one, obviously, is your marks need to be good, because now there is quite a huge competition out there. So your marks need to put, obviously, we'll say 5 in physics, 5 in English, and things like that. But if your marks are good, you stand a better chance of getting into the profession, and also rather than somebody who did get the bare minimum to qualify for that profession. So just make sure that you do excel. Basically, my advice is always focus on the patient and treat the patient before you treat the illness. In that case, your patient will be able to adhere to your management. So make sure that you take care of the patient that you see, and then do the best that you can possibly do for them.